How about now, Roger? We got any sound now? Let me know. I'm seeing a sound response on my mic here, so let me know if we've got the sound back on here. Um, while I'm waiting to get confirmation that okay, yeah, there we go. Got sound good now. Okay, so some of you know this. Uh, a couple months ago, we discovered a leak in one of the upstairs bathrooms, and when we started investigating, opening up drywall and stuff like that, we found out that the previous owners had either done a terrible DIY job or they hired a contractor that didn't understand code or took a lot of shortcuts. Bottom line, we have been ripping out walls and fixing plumbing and electrical and shower. It's just been a freaking disaster. I mean, it's just been a mess. And last week, this my office was filled with stuff. So we couldn't go live. It was just a mess, and we're kind of on the back end now. Things are coming back together, but man, it has taken freaking forever to get this put together. So I really, if you end up needing to bring in contractors to do work for you, man, make sure they know what they're doing. Anyway, it is great to be here. I really miss chatting with everybody. So we got Roger, see you scrapping Irish. Great to have you here. Electronic Scrapper, Mike's Meltdown, JR Cat, David Filet, HH Recycling. Great to have everybody here. Ed Weber, man, it is so awesome to be back on the live stream again and chatting about everything that is going on. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it. What do you say here? Let's let us do this and do this, and then we do this. I'm just messing with the buttons to make this work right. So we're getting right into it with silver. And as many of you know, I like to use the trading economics charts. They give me a lot of flexibility to look at things and analyze the data and what's going on and stuff. So first, when we look at the summary here, we can see silver's at 33.455 an ounce. It rose above 33, and we're on track to rise 3% for the week, driven by heightened demand for safe haven assets. Oh, yeah, safe haven assets. You know it. When this administration starts talking about, increasing tariffs on the EU or changing this or changing that, investors get anxious. And what do? They buy gold and silver. So we're certainly seeing that reflected in the silver price. Now, also, silver, the industrial demand for silver continues. We've got still have strong solar and electronics demand signals for silver, so there's still a good demand there. And jewelry and silverware kind of stuff, yeah, I mean, it's the demand is still there, but it's kind of flat. Um, but the real issue here is that for the last 5 years, the silver production, primary silver production, plus the secondary recycled market just hasn't been keeping up with the demand signal. So there's been a deficit in the supply of silver. So that's helped. And then whenever you have the economic turmoil, then you get even more price increases as investors pile in. So let's go ahead and just take a real quick look at the candlesticks here, and let's zoom in here for March. So we had prices were climbing a bit. We tanked here around April 4th. What happened was here in the US, we had the big announcement of what was going to happen with tariffs, and then they kind of got put on hold. So investors kind of got back to some sense of normalcy, but then there was a lot of confusion again. And so we see these prices up and down, up and down. Um, and that's just what's to be expected when you have this kind of turmoil going on. Um, Now, if we take a look at the forecast for silver, well, let's look right over here. This is the part I want to draw your attention to. Look at that. That's nice. That's silver going over 36. And what are we saying here? They're looking at almost 37, 36.9, almost 37 an ounce. If the economic turmoil continues, there's really no reason why it shouldn't even go higher than that. So, there's some opportunities there as investors in silver. You know what? Let's do then. Let's pop over here to AppMex. Let's just take a look at if you were going to buy from one of the trusted sources, JM Bullion, AppMex, one of these kind of people. By the way, I do not get any sponsorship or monetary compensation from AppMex. They just happen to be somebody that I use, so I know my way around their site a little bit. Um, and we can go right over here to silver and we can see the silver products that they have. Now, I was actually very fond of either buying silver bars or silver rounds. I would buy coins every now and then just to sort of have them. Like, I always wanted to have some US silver eagles. I wanted to have maple leafs and um, Britannias. It's just sort of the collector side. But for the real investment grade stuff, usually what I was doing was I was going in here and I was doing a 10-ounce bar or more. And, it really helps to reduce the um, premium that you're paying when you pick up, larger weights of the material. Yeah, you can see right here, you got Silver AppMex bar, 10 ounce is on sale. And that's a good thing. You look for the sales because that means your premium is going to be even lower. Now, there's a lot of folks that really enjoy buying the the like the well, here, let's just go here, the movie and the licensed ones, right? So they like to buy the collector kind of silver. Well, the thing you need to remember when you're buying collector kind of silver is that you're going to pay a premium for the artwork and such. So just keep that in mind. It's not as much for investor grade unless you think you're going to be able to sell them to other collectors of that variety. It's more about the artwork. Now, another really cool kind of artwork kind of thing, the Perth Mint, they do the kangaroos, they do the kookaburras. People just love getting those koalas. They had a shark series. I have a whole bunch of their shark series. And those were really nice looking coins. So again, you're going to pay a bit more for the fancier coins, but you do that because you like the artwork or you think that you might be able to recover that premium when it's time to sell. Now, the other thing that people like to do, I never really got into it much. I've had a couple of folks that have very generously sent me what's referred to as junk silver. But there are people out there that enjoy looking for and collecting junk silver. Essentially, those are coins that have some amount of silver in them. So you can get these big bags of 90% silver coins. You've got 40% silver. There's people out there on YouTube channels where they'll buy a roll of half dollars or nickels, and they'll go through and they'll see if they got any of the junk silver. It's a fun little hobby for them. So the junk silver is another way to do this. I'm not into it. I appreciate it when folks have sent me these coins as gifts and things like that. But if I was going to buy silver, I would be buying for the resale value as a bullion bar or round or as a coin. So let's see, what are you all doing with silver? Anybody I got to imagine that a lot of you do are into silver, that you like silver. So let's bring up the silver chart, and let's just go over here real quick, and let's see uh, who here. Roger, when I was talking about the contractor stuff, he says he was a contractor and hated fixing everyone else's fixes. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, this contractor that has come in, I got to tell you, the guy has done a good job. His crew and his subcontractors, they do good work. Organizationally, he's got some issues. He's kind of young. I mean, he's not, teenager or early 20s. He's been doing this for a while. He's taking over the business from his dad. So he's been in this. But his organizational skills are, a little bit off. I mean, sometimes somebody just shows up and I have no idea they're showing up, or they show up and they're doing something that I had agreed with the contractor that we were going to delay on. So there's some organizational issues, but the quality of the work they do when they do it is really good. And he quoted me a flat rate for the repair. So it's we agreed what work we're going to do. He gave me a price. I paid him a deposit to get started. I'll give him the rest of the money when it's done. So from that respect, it's been good. So um, but like anything, it's been taking much longer than we thought it was. Much longer. All right. Anyway, back to silver. Back to silver. Anybody doing silver stuff here? Scrapping on the fly. Welcome. Great to have you in here. Great to see you again. I'm looking for silver. Uh, JR Cat. Yeah, JR Cat. I know you're into the junk stuff. So, and I think silver in general, which is cool. HH Recycling says that he buys fancy coins for more than bullion. He loves the Royal Canadian Mint stuff. Yeah, they have some really cool stuff. They really do. Here, let's just pop over there real quick. Silver and Royal Canadian Mint. Yeah, Um, Royal Canadian, and you can see here for their silver. In addition to the maple leaves, they've got here's their specialty bullion coins. And they've got bars and wildlife and buffarillos and moose and all kinds of cool wildlife things to go with. So, yeah, there's some cool silver in the Canadian Mint for sure, for sure. Let's see. And JR Cat saying that it's the artwork that he likes. Okay, yeah, very cool. All right, so real good discussion on silver. Um, there's some room there to invest right now if you're interested. You might be able to make some headway if you can get a good deal on the premium right now, and then turn it around when the prices climb over the next 6 to 9 months, 6 months to a year or so. All right, well, it is time for our safety note. And I've got to do this safety note based on my oh man, my little truckload short that came out this week here. Let me, you know what? This would be fun to try to do. If I can do this, let me see here. If I do this, so hang on a second. I'm trying to. Um, I should have thought about this before I came up here, so I apologize for that. But I'm going to see if I can't pull this up just in case you missed this. Yeah. Now keep this picture in mind. All right. Keep that picture in mind. And so here's what I thought would be fun to talk about. So we want to talk about trucks, right? And I'm not talking about the what we see a lot of times are the with the scrappers that overload their trucks to the point where stuff is falling out. It I want to talk about some loading considerations. Now, usually when we load our trucks, we're just putting the load, right in the bed of the truck, or we have a trailer. In which case, it's really easy to look up how much you can put in the truck and how much you can tow. So, I have a Tacoma, and the Tacoma max payload for the Tacoma, 1,560 pounds, and it can tow 6,000. So, and when you load it like this, unlike what I did in that short, the weight is right down onto here. Let's do this, make that a little thicker. So you can see that your center of gravity is kind of pretty close to being right onto the lower axle. So you're balancing out that load. Now, what happened with the load that I had in that short? Well, what happened was the pallet was just a little bit too wide for the back of the truck. Um, this happens every once in a while. For the most part, a 48-inch pallet slides in without any trouble at all between the wheel well, and I can load it properly. But in this case, they had, the pallet was a little bit too wide, and you could see in that picture, we're not talking about much. It was just a smidge, right? But still, it was enough that it wouldn't go in. So I had to do some quick thinking, and I wasn't overly concerned, even though I knew it was going to look weird. But the reason that I wasn't too concerned was because I figured that the pallet was probably about 500 pounds. I've seen a lot of pallets of scrap, electronic scrap, and 500 pounds. That's a pretty reasonable kind of number. And You do a little bit of math, and what you end up with is this 500 pounds is, I want to turn off this. So this 500 pounds is operating, oops, and we go here, here. So this 500 pounds is operating straight down like this. And of course, you've got your axle point here. And so what happens is you have this, it's called a moment arm, where this 500 pounds is operating on this length here, which on my Tacoma, that's about 4 feet. So what you end up with is about a 2,000 foot pound, because you take the 500 pounds times the 4 feet, you get about 2,000 pounds. But I wasn't that worried because the engine in the truck is about the same weight, 489 pounds ish. And that 489 pounds is operating here. And so this moment arm, 489 times about 12 feet. I think it's actually 140.6 inches as the wheelbase on the Sharkmobile. So about, almost 12 feet. So, you're talking about like 6,000 pounds to counteract this 2,000 pound moment arm. So not terribly concerned. And then the other way to look at this is the vehicle weight itself, 4,000 pounds, and the center of gravity is kind of in the center of the vehicle. So that would be 4,000 with a moment arm of about 6 feet. So again, way more than what this 500-pound load is going to do. So I really wasn't worried about the truck being unstable or tipping up. I mean, it is going to tip up a little bit because you're going to have, because this is acting down here, the nose of the truck wants to pull up a little bit, but it's being counteracted, of course, by this weight here. So, it wasn't that bad. In fact, I hardly noticed that the nose had lifted at all. So I really was not that concerned about it. My primary concern, more than anything, was that the load might shift backwards if I had, if I accelerated too quickly, or just from the truck bouncing. Most times when a truck bounces, loads tend to shift forward, but because we were already pretty far aft, I knew there wasn't going to be any forward shift at all because it was already up against the wheel beds. So I was a little bit concerned about the possibility of it shifting aft. But as you saw in the video, I had my cargo net that went over the top. And so the cargo net was secured to the uh, ring bolts on the deck, on the bed, and where the gate latches. Plus, I had two more cargo straps on either side of the bed that were connected to the ring bolts on the deck. So I wasn't worried about it going anywhere. And I knew that it looked kind of weird, but it was good and secure. Wasn't worried about that at all. Um, but I thought it would make for a good discussion because you want to think about these things when you're loading your vehicles. JR Cat actually brings up, he's trying to be funny, but he brings up a good point. He says, only shift backwards when the state trooper is behind you. But the point is, you don't want to give that trooper any excuse, right? So by having the cargo net over it and the extra straps on it, had there been any state troopers or local police officers behind me, they would have taken a look at it and they probably would have said, yeah, dumb redneck doesn't know how to load his truck or something like that. But they probably wouldn't have pulled me over because it was good and secured. Now, Ed brings up the good point. Shark needs a wider flatbed trail. Yeah, so, I think the spacing is pretty much the same. I don't know. I should check and see what the wheel well spacing is on like the Tahoe or the larger kind of trucks. Um, I mean, I would say 98% of the time, I don't have any trouble at all. 48-inch pallet slides right in without any difficulty. Every once in a while, I kind of run into this trouble. So it's definitely it's an issue. Now, the other the other issue, of course, with getting a larger truck is, well, up here in this Asheville area, some of our streets are not real big. And so when I'm doing a pickup in one of the towns or in the city itself, it's kind of nice having. It's not a small truck by any stretch. It's a good sized truck. Because I thought about getting a box truck, and I'm still looking at a box truck or a transit van. But again, it's like, oh man, it's like I got to maneuver these smaller streets, and I'm a chicken. I like the visibility that I get with this truck, and I like the way it handles, and I'm used to it. So that's why we're kind of sticking with the Tacoma for the time being. Um, so yeah, that's uh, that's kind of where we're at on the bigger truck thing. So Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, that's a really good point that you have to be careful of, Mike, is the steering. When you do have your weight back here like that and the front wants to lift up a little bit, what you can have is that you don't get as good a traction from your front wheels, which are where you're steering from. And so you got to be really careful, especially if you're at highway speeds, as Mike points out, or it's raining. It's something that you really have to pay attention to. Now, fortunately, I didn't have to go up highway speeds. The roads between where I picked this up and the shark cage are all 45 miles an hour. So, and of course that means some people are driving 70. I'm doing 45. Um, but you really do have to pay attention to that. And that Mike brings up a great point that, if you're putting too much weight back behind this axle, this is especially true if you have a trailer, it can lift the nose up enough that the steering can get uncomfortable. So pay attention to that when you're loading up your vehicles. Any other safety tips that you all want to talk about? Experiences that you've had with your loads, and uh, the other thing that you got to be careful of is if you're one of these folks that has jacked up your truck in order to make it look cooler, or because you do a lot of off-roading or something like that, that will raise the center of gravity, could make your truck a little more unstable. I'm operating on factory or OEM um, shocks and springs and stuff, so I'm fine where I'm at. The truck is doing what it was designed to do. Okay, don't see any other comments on the truck. So, hey, Mike. You missed the safety tip, man. I know that's the only reason you come in here is for the safety tip, and we just got done talking about it. Oh well, maybe you'll hang around for the rest of it. Let's see. Let's do that, and then do that. There we go. Oh man. All right. So that was our safety tip. And please pay attention when you're loading your vehicles, and you don't want to get in an accident. You want to be safe, and it's. I know we talked about vehicle loading not really that long ago, but it's really important just to keep bringing it up and keep chatting about it. All right. Well, our industrial metal today, man, we don't like talking about this one. This one is just it's just not one of our best metals as far as performance. It's one of the metals that we get a lot, but it's not a great one for us. Um, aluminum futures were at 2,460 a ton, remaining below the 6 week high of 2,530. There's a lot of discussion here that basically boils down to there's a lot of inventory. There's a lot more aluminum being made than is being consumed, and manufacturers aren't quite sure where they're going to be making stuff. So, and how much stuff they got to make. So, all of that leads to confusion in aluminum and what's going on with aluminum. Let's go ahead and pop out our candlesticks here real quick. Take a look at what's been going on here. We've got February is up and down. March, we've got the big announcement, the quote unquote independence or whatever. And then prices drop off. Then there's the discussion of, okay, maybe we won't do tariffs. And so prices try to come back up, but there's still a lot of confusion on what's going on. Remember, aluminum is one of those metals that's already under what's called a Section 232 set of tariffs. Section 232, we've talked about this in previous live streams. That is a section of the Trade Expansion Act that the U.S. government will look at the potential risks of too many imports of a particular thing, in this case, aluminum, and they may impose tariffs in order to try to control the amount of uh, imports that come from that thing if it's determined that it's a risk to U.S. security. Again, we're not here to talk politics. I'm just trying to explain to you what these things are and what's happening with them. So we see that aluminum bouncing around. Let's take a look at what's going to go on with the potential future. So we take the forecast, and it is as ugly as we expected. So we're looking at aluminum to drop. And what are we getting down to? They're saying something like 2,300 a ton. And of course, there's going to be some ups and downs and ups and downs, but overall, they're saying that we're looking at a drop down here in the 6 to 12 month time frame. Now, what does that mean for us in the scrapping world? Well, what that's telling me is sell your aluminum. There's no, I don't see any benefit to hanging on to your aluminum. Um, Maybe you could say, well, I'm going to play the real long game, and I'm just going to hang on to it for 5 years or 10 years and see what happens. Well, you know what? Let's do. Let's go back here to the summary. We'll do that. Let's just take a look at aluminum going as far back as what are we? This goes back to 91. Um, and yeah, we're not record lows, we're not record highs, we're a little bit higher than average here. Um, so here's the stats. So the mean is in here at 1,866 and a half ish. And you can see that the overall trend is up here. Let me do this. You can see that the overall trend for the aluminum, the variance keeps going up. Um, but I don't see much reason to hang on to aluminum. If you've got aluminum, you might as well just be selling it when you hit. Come on, stop it, buttons. Do what I tell you to do. There we go. If you have aluminum, then I would say sell it. There's just not much reason to be hanging on to your aluminum. Um, and use it as treat it like you do shred. But if you get your cash flow out of it moving, I mean it's doing a little better than shred. So you're getting more money than you are, but it weighs a lot less, of course. Just treat it as a flow metal. When you get your aluminum, take it in, sell it, whether it's a bin full, a truck full, whatever common unit that you use to sell your aluminum, then I would say just go ahead and sell it because just there isn't much reason to hang on to it. Nothing much that I can see. What about you all? What are you doing with your aluminum? What are you thinking of doing? Uh, blah, 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 blah. Well, not much talk about aluminum, but we're giving Mike a hard time about coming in for the safety tip and ignoring it. Yeah, Ed's funny. He's like he was riding dirty when I had it on the back like that. Now, I will say that the cable braces for the tailgate are still attached, so the tailgate wasn't carrying all of that load by itself. They still had the cable braces on either side of it. But yeah, that's a really good way to damage your tailgate. I don't like doing that, and I try to avoid it whenever I can. Yeah, Ed, it's oops, wait a minute, here we are. It's slim pickings, man. If you're into it, aluminum stuff, really is. And HH says he's selling his. JR Cat is saying that it's been getting in the way, and that's why he's been getting rid of it. Yep. That's a big thing, right? It piles up. I mean, and it a lot of times the aluminum can be in large sheets and things like that that just they get in the way. They cause you all kinds of trouble. Um, Now there is one thing that you could do for aluminum if you are into it, and maybe you try melting and making some stuff out of the aluminum that you could sell. Um, I have, there are people that will buy aluminum bars um, on eBay and other places, and they'll pay more than the scrap price for the aluminum, which I don't quite understand. Um, I know I get it. There are some people that want to buy something that a particular scrapper has made because it's the draw. It's just I want something from this particular scrapper, um, and so I can kind of see that. Um, but it could be fun. Aluminum it's a relatively lighter weight metal, and so if you want to learn how to do some pouring and casting, you start with your aluminum. Mess around with pouring some uh, ingots, some rounds. Doing some spent wax castings. Those kind of things that could be a fun project. Now, of course, that means that you have to invest in a furnace and molds, and you have that increased risk because you're handling that kind of stuff. Um, that's just maybe another thing that you could do. I've been toying around with the idea of doing some melting projects. So I've been keeping some of my really cleaner, nicer aluminum aside so that I can experiment, mess around with doing some melting and pouring with some aluminum. And, once I'll play around with that, and then I'll move on to copper and such. Um, but it's one of those things that could be fun to do since the price isn't great anyway. You could have some fun doing it, and if you're any good at it, then you might be able to make a little extra money selling whatever it is that you've made out of the aluminum. I don't know. I'm kind of you know kind of kind of grasping at straws for ways to make more money on the aluminum than what we would normally get for scrap value. All right. Well, uh, let's see. Mike says I have 3 5-gallon buckets of aluminum. I have to sort for Ribley's and melting. Okay. Um, Not quite sure what you mean there, JR Cat. It draws. Aluminum draws crackheads. Ah, I see. Because they're trying to get it to get their fix. Gotcha. Um, yeah. All righty. Well, yeah. I don't know if any of you have seen Mike's meltdown. He's got a whole bunch of dogs. So, I think anybody that showed up there would probably hear all the barking and turn around and go somewhere else. I can't, I can't see anybody deciding that they're going to take that one on very long. All right, well, let's get moving along here now. We need to chat a little bit about the our other topic, and that's tariffs. And again, this is not a politics channel. I don't want to talk about the politics of the tariffs so much as I do just to make you aware of, in case you've been missing any of it. So this administration announced that on June 1st, they are likely to implement a 50% tariff on all products from the EU. And that is what is influencing silver and gold prices to start climbing again, because of that confusion and turmoil. So, in the one sense, that could be good for us that are in the electronic scrap world because that will drive up gold prices, which means our scrap keeps going up. Um, it's not good if if you're into other things, and overall economic instability is not good for the world. But there's a lot of discussions about how this could play out. The other thing that I thought was interesting was that there's also talk of a 25% tariff on Apple products. And I saw where some analysts have looked at the numbers and they said that if Apple was to bring their iPhone manufacturing back to the US, that an iPhone would cost $3,500. I mean, think about that. That's a lot of money. You know, now, yes, I have an iPhone. This is a 14. To give you an idea of how old it is. I'm not one of these folks that has to go out and get the latest phone. In fact, I think I was like 5 or 6 generations behind when I finally bought this one. Um, but for some people, some people love to buy the latest and greatest iPhone. But it does beg the question, if would Apple move production back to the United States, which could lead to a significant increase in the cost of iPhones that could make them unable to compete in the broader international market. Really hard to say, how that logic would play out for them. It's just something that, that we need to think about. The other tariff action that is brewing behind the scenes is a Section 232 investigation on copper. And well, here, let me show you. Let's see. Let's bring this up and let's do this. So this is the Bureau of Industry and Security, U.S. Department of Commerce website. And we're looking at the active Section 232 investigations. So you can see that they're still doing the copper investigation. It started March 10th. Inputs were all due in on April 1st. So now what the folks at are looking at now is, okay, so what do all the inputs mean? What does all the data mean? And a lot of industry folks commented. REMA, the Recycled Materials Association, they provided a lot of input on copper. So the discussions, as some of my connections have revealed to me, is that the U.S. government is trying to decide if we can be self-sufficient in copper. So between primary copper, which is copper that gets made out of ore, and secondary copper, which is the recycled copper, can the United States make all the copper that it needs for its own requirements? And then another part of that, I guess, is going to be then, what could we sell any extra so that we don't become a self-licking copper ice cream cone? So that's brewing along. But when I was looking at this, there was one that I hadn't picked up on yet. Not the semiconductors. We knew that was going on. But the one that really caught my attention that I hadn't noticed before was trucks. So right here, this notice on trucks, and it came out April 22nd. So I just hadn't been paying attention, hadn't picked up on that. So I thought I would take a look at it and see what we're talking about. And they're looking at the Secretary is looking at an investigation to determine the effects on the national security of imports of medium duty and heavy duty trucks, truck parts, and their derivative products. Now, some of you may recall, either from a previous live stream or from other YouTube videos, that light duty trucks are already tariffed. And that goes back to the chicken tariffs, a very complex, convoluted way that we got from chickens to tariffs on light trucks. If you really want to go back and look at the discussion that I did on it a few weeks back, or just take a look on YouTube for chicken tariff or light truck tariffs, and you'll get the whole story. But this is on the medium and heavy duty trucks. Now, it's interesting what they classified as medium duty. Let's see if I can find the number again real quick while I'm looking at it. Oh, I had it here when I was looking at it before. Of course, now I'm not going to be able to find it. I should have just captured it, highlighted it. Um, oh, here we are. So for medium duty trucks, the term medium duty truck is a truck between 10,000 and 2,601 pounds. Heavy duty trucks are 26,001 pounds or heavier. Now, I thought this was interesting because that 10,000 is a little bit lighter weight than what a lot of industry standards talk about as medium duty trucks. Um, so I thought it was kind of interesting that in this 232 investigation, they decided to look at trucks that were a little bit less weight than what you might think. So, what are we talking about in this category of truck? Well, um, the one that comes to mind the fastest is box trucks. And for us in the scrapping and recycling world, the box truck is something that we see a lot, right? I mean, I don't know how many of you do. Any of you own a box truck? I don't. I'm just wondering if any of you do. I mean, a box truck would be really nice. I usually just lease one when I need to pick up something that is going to be a larger pickup than what I can do with the Shark Mobile. I mean, so when I would bid on government lots, I might get win an award of say 6 pallets. Well, I'm not going to make six trips to pick up 1 pallet at a time, or even try to squeeze two on the Sharkmobile because that would exceed the load capacity. So I would lease a box truck to go make the pickup, and they're very useful to have in the scrapping world. Now they can be a little bit tricky because depending upon their size, you might and your state. You might have to get a DOT registration for them. And I know it. You think that you know here in the U.S. that all the states would have standards. You've got the federal DOT requirements for a DOT number on the vehicle, and if you need a CDL, but your states can also impose other restrictions as well. So you got to really be careful when you get a box truck to make sure that you have the right license to drive it, and if you have any other inspection requirements on top of it. And then you're almost always diesel engines, so you've got the added dealings of a diesel engine as opposed to a standard gas engine. Not always, but a lot of them are diesel engines. The other thing that I thought was interesting in the weight class are school buses. And so, it makes me wonder if school buses would be part of this game, and a lot of fire engines fall in this category as well. I mean, a lot of you know that a fire engine is just a truck bed that they put pumps and stuff on it instead of something else. So the medium truck category is an interesting one, and there are potential impacts to us in the scrapping world if you're looking for, if you're doing enough work that you want to own a box truck, you may want to think about getting it sooner rather than later. And then, of course, if you're looking for parts for it later on down the line, that can be there may be additional costs associated as you take care of your truck as well. Um, the The other category that we talked about, the heavy duty truck. This one, that's not going to surprise anybody. Heavy duty truck, your tractor trailers, your transit buses. But the thing that really comes to issue in our world are the waste hauling trucks and the tractor trailers. And why is this a potential implication for us? Because a lot of the larger recycling companies, are also waste hauling companies, and they do, so there's that side of the recycling industry that uses the waste hauling trucks. But your scrap yards are moving a lot of material, and your scrap yards are using heavy duty trucks, right? Whether they own the trucks themselves, many times they'll own the trailers and they'll hire drivers, or they may own the entire rig themselves. They're if those costs rise, then probably they're going to pass that cost along to us in the sense of not paying as much for material because it's going to cost them more to maintain their fleet of trucks and such. And the other thing that I'm not sure of, and I'm curious if any of you know what the details are, but things like the cranes, the Sheboygans, and those kind of things, if they are going to be classified as a heavy duty truck, or are they specialized enough that they're not going to be affected? We have historically in the U.S. considered some off-road equipment differently than on-road equipment. When it comes to things like EPA standards and stuff. So I don't know how they're going to handle that, and I haven't had a chance to read the study in enough detail to know if heavy cranes are also going to be included in this. Maybe the cranes that are trucks. You've seen the crane driving down the highway, and then when it's needed, it stops, puts out its bracing arms, and it's ready to go, as opposed to the cranes that have to be trailed. Maybe that would be the differentiator there. So we'll pay attention to what goes on with this 232 study on trucks and the medium and heavy duty trucks, and how that could potentially have impact on our world of scrapping and recycling. Nothing's going to happen right away, so don't get too concerned. Excuse me. Had a little tickle in the throat. So there are no immediate actions. This stuff will come together at some point. We'll get a report out from the government, and we'll see if they put any tariffs on the medium duty trucks, the heavy duty trucks, the components, the parts, and how that's going to play out. Could that lead to more trucks being built here in the U.S., or just raise the cost of the trucks that we have here? Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. I mean, shipping is already terribly expensive. Any of you who have shipped your material, whether you're sending 40, 50-pound boxes to boardsort.com or pallet loads of material to one of your scrap yards or another buyer, you've seen how shipping impacts your business. And so that can be a huge deal for our profitability. And so we will definitely need to pay attention to that. All right. Well, let's see who has come. Oh, how do you say this? Cosmin Param? Cosmin Param. Cosmin Param. Anyway, welcome. Great to have you here. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. Great to have you on board. Um, didn't see any discussion going on about any of these 232 investigations or the tariffs that are playing out or what the impacts are likely to be or not be. Really, for us, we're so low on the food chain here that it's hard for us to have any kind of influence other than we just keep paying attention, and we do our homework, and um, when we go to the scrapyard, we try not to be surprised when the prices don't come out in our favor. I'm curious what you've seen for your prices. I don't. I mean, I haven't taken anything in recently. I've been doing a lot of picking up, and the shark cage is a disaster right now. Um, hey, freaking awesome! Great to see you. Great to have you here. Um, so I've been doing a lot of pick. I haven't had a chance to process stuff because I've been dealing with the contractor at the house, and that's been just killing me. Um, and I can't just not be here because, like I said, we've had times when people just showed up when they didn't. There was, it was like, no, that's not what we agreed we were going to do, and so it's really been playing havoc with my ability to get stuff done. I'm hoping that that is now getting behind me because I have the shark cage is just a disaster. I mean, I can barely walk around in there right now. It's just insane. I'm going to put up a little short on Monday, just a quick video. In fact, it'll be a short so that you can see just how crowded things are in the shark cage right now. Because yeah, it's not good. I need to spend some real time in there breaking stuff down, getting the boards into pallet loads to get shipped out, getting cases out of here. Just a bucket load of work that needs to get done. Freaking awesome saying hello to everybody. Living off scraps is saying hello. Coming in near the end here, buddy. But maybe you can pick it up on the replay. Had some interest. Yeah, no kidding, man. I am. I'm like I feel like I'm the American version of Ian. The only difference is I'm not trying to keep the stuff on purpose. I actually want to get rid of the stuff. I agree. It's always good to be busy. I'd hate to be bored. I just want to be busy in my shop, not busy here watching the contractor do stuff. Um, let's see. Freaking awesome is saying I feel the same. Too much stuff to tear down. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's good to have a lot of stuff to tear down, right? And then the funny thing is, you know what happens, right? So here I am. I'm saying, oh, I got to get stuff out of here. I don't have enough room. And then in another week or two, I'll have hopefully worked through all this stuff, and I'll be looking around going, oh man, I sure hope I get a pickup pretty soon. We're looking pretty slim here. So yeah, it's a never ending cycle, isn't it? Yeah, never ending cycle. All right, everybody. Well, we are going to get ready to head across the pond to Ireland. And hopefully, you'll get there much faster than the package that I sent to Scrapping Irish via UPS months ago that is still sitting in the warehouse in Dublin because they can't figure out how to deliver it. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, if you have autoplay enabled, I know that you'll be redirected over to Ireland as soon as I end this stream. If you do not have autoplay enabled, then please go into YouTube, just type in Scrapping Irish or Scrapping Irish Live, and you'll get the link to take you over there to Scrapping Irish. You never know who's coming up on the panel. You never know which way the discussions are going to play out. It's always a very interesting time when we're over in Ireland, and I look forward to seeing all of you over there. If I don't see you over in Ireland, have a safe week. Be careful and keep on scrapping.